starlight in your eyes of blue.
In this countdown, we're ranking all 21 songs that hit number 1 in 1970. From the groovy highs to the gospel tearjerkers, the teen heartthrobs to the unexpected soul sermons. 1970 wasn't just the dawn of a new decade, it was a full-blown musical roller coaster.
Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Surely never won't you?
Funk was getting freaky, folk was getting emotional, and a certain former Beatle was chanting Hare Krishna on Top 40. So let's settle this once and for all. Which 1970s number 1 hit stood the tallest, not just on the charts, but in our hearts?
Let it be, let it be, let it be.
So get ready to clap, cry, and maybe yell, "Huh, what is it good for?" right along with us.
Like me, they long to be close to.
Number 21, Everything is Beautiful, Ray Stevens. Let's start with a song that meant, well, maybe a little too well. Ray Stevens was best known for novelty hits like Santa Claus is Watching You, but this is before The Streak.
There's none so blind as he who will not.
Back when he surprised everyone in 1970 with his gentle, piano-driven plea for unity. Everything is Beautiful. It hit number 1 on May 30th and stayed there for 2 weeks, inviting listeners to look past the chaos of the times and see the good in the world.
It's beautiful in its own way.
Even if the delivery was more like Sunday school sing-along than soul-stirring anthem. To its credit, it captured a certain post-60s optimism that people wanted to believe in, but musically it just kind of floats along without ever truly lifting off.
World's gonna find a way.
Like a Hallmark card set to music, its cultural footprint is modest, fondly remembered by some, lampooned by others, and while the message is timeless, the arrangement has not aged gracefully.
In its own way.
But still, it gave Stevens his first chart topper, even if it leaned more cloying than classic. But don't worry, Ray would streak back to the top of the charts in 1974 with, yep, The Streak. So I guess we'll be ranking 1974's number 1 hits later this year.
Oh, yes, they call him the Streak. He likes to turn the up.
And hey, while everything may be beautiful in its own way, the songs ahead, they're about to get bolder, deeper, and a whole lot more unforgettable.
Everything is beautiful in its own.
Number 20, Make It With You, Bread. Soft rock doesn't get much softer than this. Bread's breakout hit Make It With You topped the Billboard Hot 100 on August 22nd, 1970, and held the spot for just 1 week.
If you're wondering what this all is leading to,
It was there they whispered its way into America's ears like a lullaby with romantic intentions. Written and sung by David Gates, the track is all about quiet vulnerability, offering love not with fireworks, but with a gentle nudge and a sincere, hey, we could have something real.
oh, I'd like to make it.
Musically, it's airy, it's mellow, and immaculately polished. Classic 70s AM radio fare. It made a lot of sense in an era when folks were trying to calm down after a really wild decade. And Bread delivered that safe place to land.
I'd like to make it with you.
But while it's sweet and soothing, it's also a little sleepy, like a warm glass of milk before bed. Comforting, but not exactly electrifying.
Don't you know I'd like to make it with you?
Number 19, I Think I Love You, The Partridge Family. Bubblegum pop met bell-bottoms and bus tours when I Think I Love You burst onto the scene on November 21st, 1970.
Me ask you to your face, do you think you love me? I think I love you.
This TV tie-in tune hit number 1 for 3 weeks, turning David Cassidy into a heartthrob overnight, and giving suburban teens a new anthem to blush over. It's a song about being overwhelmed by unexpected love, but dressed up in enough catchy chords and tambourines to keep it light and fun.
And right in the middle of a good dream, like all at once I wake up.
It was crafted by professional songwriters and performed by studio musicians, with only Cassidy and Shirley Jones representing the actual cast. It's a polished product of early 70s pop manufacturing. But I have to be honest here, it totally worked.
I think I love you. I think I love you.
The hook is undeniable. Cassidy's voice drips with earnest charm, and for kids watching the Partridge Family, it felt like this song was just for them. But still, it was more marketing magic than musical milestone, and while it tugged at young hearts, it didn't leave a deep emotional scar.
I think I love you. I think I love you. I think I love
Number 18, Mama Told Me Not to Come, Three Dog Night. Here's a tune that sounds like it just stumbled into the wrong party and decided to narrate the entire thing. Mama Told Me by Three Dog Night hit number 1 on July 11th, 1970, and stayed there for 2 weeks. Bringing Randy Newman's offbeat lyrics to life with a wink, a grimace, and a whole lot of funk. It's a tale of wide-eyed innocent thrown into a smoky, strange scene full of booze, pills, and questionable dancing. And then realizing, hey, maybe Mama was onto something. Musically, it's got this quirky, lurching groove and that signature growl from Corey Wells that makes it, part rock, part comedy, and part cautionary tale. It stood out in 1970 by not trying to sound pretty. It sounded confused, overwhelmed, and maybe a little hungover. And that made it oddly perfect for a generation caught between flower power idealism and post-60s burnout.
That ain't the way that fun.
Number 17, Crackklin Rosie, Neil Diamond. By October 10th, 1970, Neil Diamond had already written hits for others, but with Crackklin Rosie, he finally claimed the number 1 spot for himself.
My baby, Crackklin Rosie, make me a smile. Girl, if
Inspired by a cheap bottle of wine and perhaps a lonely weekend, the song is part celebration, part delusion, and all Diamond. It only stayed at the top for just 1 week, but its infectious rhythm and clapping beat made sure it stuck around in our memories for far longer.
The supreme that don't ask no questions, yeah.
With its upbeat strumming and soaring chorus, Crackklin Rosie hides a melancholy theme under layers of joyful noise, cheers to the wine, but also to the companionship it substitutes. And honestly, this song is just classic Neil. It's catchy, it's theatrical, and just sentimental enough to tug at your collar.
There now, my baby, Crackklin Rosie, make me a smile.
There's no other singer who can make Store-Bought Woman sound almost romantic. But even with Diamond's charm, this one's a breezy detour into a year packed with deeper emotional heavyweights.
Please, an old man for a happy tune.
Number 16, The Long and Winding Road, For Your Blue, The Beatles. When the Beatles were topping the charts on June 13, 1970, it marked the end of an era. Literally, The Long and Winding Road became the Beatles' final US number 1 single before their official breakup.
The long, winding road.
Holding the spot for 2 weeks. Penned by Paul McCartney and controversially orchestrated by Phil Spector, the song is a slow-motion goodbye that aches with resignation.
It always leads me here.
The lush string arrangement and McCartney's aching vocals create a mood of lonely grandeur, like watching raindrops slide down the window of something you're not ready to leave.
Anyway, you'll never know.
It's a song about a journey that doesn't lead anywhere certain, and by the time it fades, you feel like you've just watched the curtain fall on the greatest band of all time. While George's For Your Blue rides shotgun on this release, it is Paul's sorrowful send-off that sticks.
I want you at the moment I feel blue.
But while this road was winding, it wasn't the only Beatles song to reach number 1 on that year, or the most iconic.
Don't leave me standing here.
Number 15, Thank You, Everybody Is a Star, Sly and the Family Stone. Now here's a double A side that packed more groove than most albums. Thank You hit number 1 on February 14th, 1970, and it held the spot for 2 weeks. And it was paired with the mellow flip side, Everybody Is a Star. Sly and the Family Stone weren't just making hits, they were rewriting the rulebook, fusing funk, rock, soul, and social commentary into a sound that was wild. It was unpredictable and completely their own. Thank You was a blast of bass and bite. Larry Graham practically invented slap bass right here, and Sly's wordplay-laced vocals oozed defiance and cool. Meanwhile, Everybody Is a Star gave the other side of the coin, gentle and affirming, a hug wrapped in a harmony.
Everybody is a star.
And together they show just how dynamic and daring this band could be, with messages that stuck and rhythms that moved. But for all its innovation, this one feels more like a snapshot than a full story. Funk on the rise, hinting at what was about to come.
Thank you for letting me be myself again.
Number 15, Venus, Shocking Blue. Alright, now here's one that probably made a few transistor radios sizzle. Venus by Shocking Blue hit number 1 on February 7th and held it for 3 weeks.
Well, I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, it's your desire.
And if you were anywhere near a roller rink or a teenage basement back then, you probably heard it blaring through the speakers.
Godness on a mountain top was burning like a silver flame.
With that pounding guitar riff and the sultry vocal work from Mariska Verez, it felt like the kind of tune that could hypnotize you into thinking you were cooler than you might be.
Like as a dark night she was, got what no one else had.
This wasn't some flower child lullaby. This was a European invasion wrapped in a lightning bolt of fuzz and flair. Mariska sounded like she could knock you flat with one stare. And that iconic "she's got it, yeah baby, she's got it" line, instant gold.
She's got it, yeah baby, she's got it.
It might not have had the staying power of some of the other classics, but in this moment, Venus was pure electricity.
I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, it's your desire.
Number 14, ABC, the Jackson 5. Now this one bounced straight out of the speakers like it had springs on its sneakers. ABC hit number 1 on April 25th, 1970, and it stayed there for 2 weeks, giving the Jackson 5 their second chart topper and reminding us that Schoolhouse Romance never sounded so funky. Young Michael Jackson, just 11 years old, belted out those vocals like he had been breaking hearts since kindergarten. ABC was a sugar rush, bright horns, hand claps, and a bass line that practically danced on its own.
Do, re, mi, ABC, that's how easy love can be.
And let's be honest, we all thought we could moonwalk way before the moonwalk even existed. The Jackson 5 weren't just a hit, they were a movement. Matching outfits, perfect choreography, and hooks that stuck in your head for decades.
1, 2, 3, baby, ABC, baby.
But for all its youthful charm, this song was still part of the learning curve. The next Jackson 5 hit on this list, it didn't teach us, it held us. Number 13, The Love You Save, the Jackson 5. Okay, now we're cooking with the 5. The Love You Save hit number 1 on June 27th, 1970 and held it for 2 weeks. Making it the Jackson 5's third chart topper that year. And if ABC was the playground crush, this one felt like the sit-down talk your older brother gave you when things got serious. Stop, the love you save may be your own. It was frantic in the best way. Those drums rolled like a train, the vocals leapt out of the speakers, and little Michael was already delivering life advice with more urgency than most grown men. With its call and response energy and Motown polish, it was tailor-made for car radios, dance floors, and school gym sock hops. The Jacksons were unstoppable at this point, and the Love You Save proved they weren't just lucky, they were lethal. Number 12, American Woman, No Sugar Tonight, The Guess Who. Now this was the moment when Canada sent a love letter to rock and roll, and maybe a breakup note to the US along with it. American Woman hit number 1 on May 9th and stuck around for 3 weeks, driven by that snarling guitar riff and Burton Cummings' sneering vocals.
American woman, listen what I say.
It sounded like protest, swagger, and guitar-fueled rebellion all rolled into one gritty anthem. Whether you took it as anti-war, anti-materialism, or just anti-whatever your mom was listening to, it had teeth.
American woman, listen what I say.
Randy Bachman's guitar intro felt like it was being chiseled out of stone, and paired with the more mellow B-side of No Sugar Tonight, it gave you both the snarl and the simmer. This wasn't a feel-good sing-along, it was a wake-up call with a whole lot of groove.
No sugar to ride with me. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Number 11, I'll Be There, the Jackson 5. Now, here's the moment the Jackson 5 went from teen sensations to full-on heart melters. I'll Be There climbed to number 1 on October 17th and stayed there for 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks, longer than a month, their longest run at the top.
I reach out my hand to you.
Gone were the bouncy schoolhouse hooks. This was soul, plain and simple, with young MJ delivering those tender lines like he'd lived through a lifetime of heartbreak.
I'll be there.
This was a promise in song form. The piano is sparse, the harmonies wrap around you like a blanket, and Michael's voice at just 12 now manages to be both fragile and unwavering.
Somebody, I'll be there.
It's the kind of track that made parents tear up in the front seat while their kids sang along in the back, not fully grasping why it hit so hard. I'll Be There proved the Jackson 5 weren't just a passing trend, they had range, emotion, and staying power.
I'll be there.
Number 10, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, BJ Thomas. So we all know this one. This is like a warm cup of coffee on a rainy morning, because the rain is falling on his head. But it's also comforting, it's familiar, and just a little bittersweet. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head kicked off the year reaching number 1 on January 3rd and holding the top spot for an impressive 4 weeks.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Written by some guy named Burt Bacharach and Hal David for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, it wasn't just a song, it was a vibe. Tailor-made for slow pedaling through life's puddles with your chin up. BJ Thomas gave it just the right amount of laid-back charm, singing it like a guy who knew troubles would come but also knew they'd pass.
Raindrops keep falling on my head. But that does.
The horns were soft, the tempo gentle, and the lyrics felt like a pep talk from your wiser, slightly soggy uncle. It won an Oscar, became a radio staple, and somehow made mild melancholy feel like a personal victory.
So I just did me some talking to the sun.
But as soothing as this one is, it didn't dare shake your soul. The next one, it's Motown magic meets a vocal promise so powerful it could hold your hand through anything.
Raindrops are falling on my head and they keep falling.
Number 8, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Diana Ross. Now this is how you make an entrance. Diana Ross launched her solo career in style with Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and it hit number 1 on September 19th, 1970, and held the spot for 2 weeks.
Baby, you're my love.
It took a song we already knew, originally a 1967 Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell duet, and turned it into something cinematic, something even divine. This version wasn't just a cover, it was a reinvention, with spoken word passages, sweeping orchestration, gospel backing vocals, and Ross's signature blend of elegance and urgency. It was like climbing an emotional staircase, one dramatic step at a time. You didn't just listen, you felt it rise, and by the time she belts out that final chorus, you're ready to follow her through every river and high mountain she promises to cross. Number 7, The Tears of a Clown, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Alright, so this is the kind of song that sneaks up on you. The Tears of a Clown hit number 1 on December 12th, 1970 and stayed there for 2 weeks, just in time to close out the year with a bittersweet bang. Smokey Robinson, the poet laureate of Motown, wrapped up sadness in a circus melody and somehow made heartbreak sound like a magic trick. That jaunty calliope intro might make you think you're in for a carnival ride, but stick around, this is a masterclass in masking pain.
The tears of a clown when there's no one around.
Smokey's lyrics dance between clever wordplay and raw vulnerability, and when he sings "Don't let my glad expression give you the wrong impression," it just hits like a confessional. It's all about the smile we wear when we're breaking inside, and man, did this song resonate.
Like a clown, I pretend to be glad.
Number 6, My Sweet Lord, George Harrison. Now, here was a moment. George Harrison stepped out from behind the Lennon-McCartney shadow and he just soared with My Sweet Lord when it hit number 1 on December 26, 1970, and carried us into 71. While also making Harrison the first solo Beatle to top the US charts. This wasn't just a hit, it was a spiritual awakening disguised as a pop song. With its shimmering slide guitar, layered chants of Hallelujah and Hare Krishna, and George's gentle searching vocal. The track blended East and West in a way no one else on Top 40 radio was doing. It invited you to pause, reflect, maybe even hum along with something bigger than yourself. It was really bold, it was super heartfelt, and it was completely unlike anything else on the charts that year. And that's why it is the 6th best number 1 hit from 1970. Number 5, War, Edwin Starr. Now this one didn't tiptoe into the conversation, it kicked down the door and punched down the door too. War by Edwin Starr hit number 1 on August 29th and held the spot for 3 weeks, blasting out of radios with a fury that just couldn't be ignored. War, huh? What is it good for?
Listen to me. I despise.
It became more than just a lyric, it became a chant, an outcry, a call to consciousness in the middle of a divided country. Edwin Starr didn't just sing this one, he bellowed it, turning Motown soul into pure righteous fire.
All right. Whoa, whoa, Lord.
The horns punched, the drums stomped, and Starr's voice cracked open the frustration of a generation tired of body counts and broken promises.
Absolutely. Listen to me. Whoa. It ain't nothing but a heart.
It was protest with polish, soul with steel, and even now it hits like a hammer wrapped in velvet. Number 4, They Long to Be Close to You, the Carpenters. Now if this song doesn't take you right back to slow dancing in your parents' living room, or maybe just staring out of the window wondering if someone liked you back, you might have missed the 70s entirely. They Long to Be Close to You by the Carpenters floated to number 1 on July 25th, 1970 and held tight for 4 dreamy weeks.
They long to be close to you.
Because it's just the kind of song that doesn't rush and doesn't shout, it just gently wins you over. It's beautiful. Karen Carpenter's voice, like velvet dipped in honey, smooth, pure, and heartbreakingly sincere.
All the girls in town follow you.
She made lyrics about angels sprinkling moon dust sound not just believable, but personal. And of course, the Bacharach David songwriting magic again gave it bones, but Karen gave it soul.
Like me, they long to be close to you.
It wasn't just about being in love, it was about wanting to be loved, and that quiet yearning gave it its power.
They long to be close to you.
Number 3, Let It Be, The Beatles. Now here's the kind of song that doesn't just play, it lands. Let It Be rose to number 1 on April 11th, 1970 and stayed there for 2 weeks, arriving right as the Beatles were coming apart at the seams.
Speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Written by Paul McCartney during a particularly rocky stretch, it felt like a hymn for the times, soothing, spiritual, and quietly heartbreaking. From that opening piano chord, it wraps you in something familiar, like the voice of a loved one saying everything's going to be okay, even if it won't be.
Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be.
Paul's vocals are restrained but aching, and that guitar solo from George Harrison, it just glows. Honestly, Let It Be is my personal favorite Beatles song, and it's both a farewell and a benediction.
Let it be, let it be, let it be.
And it still shows up when we need to be reminded that peace sometimes means letting go. Number 2, I Want You Back, the Jackson 5. Yep, the Jackson 5 at number 2, cause this is just the sound of a star being born. I Want You Back hit number 1 on January 31st, 1970, and stayed there for just 1 week.
Oh, baby, give me one more chance.
But what a week it was. The opening piano riff hits like a spark, sharp, sudden, unforgettable, and just like that, the Jackson 5 are in full flight. And it wasn't just a catchy tune, it was a mission statement. Motown threw everything at it, a killer James Jamerson bass line, funky guitar licks, punchy drums, and harmonies that snapped tighter than a pair of bell-bottoms. Even Rolling Stone later called it pop perfection, and Billboard ranked it one of the greatest songs of all time.
I see you in his arms. Yes, I do now.
Originally written for Gladys Knight and the Pips, I Want You Back became the Jackson 5's debut Motown single and a cultural reset. That voice, raw, pleading, electric, turned Michael Jackson into an instant icon. This is the kind of song that doesn't age, it just keeps moving, jumping from vinyl to mixtapes to playlists like it was born yesterday.
That was all it took. Now it's much too late for me to take those.
And number 1, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Simon and Garfunkel. The Top of the Mountain, the best number 1 hit from 1970. Of all the incredible number 1 hits that define 1970, none reached higher or sank deeper into our collective hearts than Bridge Over Troubled Water. It topped the charts on February 28th and stayed there for 6 powerful weeks. But its reign didn't end there.
Sailing right behind.
Written by Paul Simon and delivered with breathtaking clarity by Art Garfunkel, this wasn't just a ballad, it was a sanctuary. The song begins with a whisper, just a piano and a voice so pure it feels almost unreal. But then it builds, slowly and majestically, into something bigger than pop music.
I will comfort you.
Strings swell, drums roll, gospel choirs rise, and suddenly you're not just hearing a song, you're being carried by it. And in a year full of chaos, conflict, and change, Bridge Over Troubled Water wrapped itself around us and promised, I'm here, you're not alone. It didn't shout, it didn't plead, it simply stood strong.
and friends just can't be found.
This is what the very best #1 hit should do. It meets you in your pain, lifts you in your joy, and stays with you long after that last note fades. Admit it, even decades later it still brings tears, comfort, and all. That's not just success, that's legacy. And that's why this one isn't just #1 for the year, it is #1 in our hearts.
Bridge over troubled water.
There you have it, 21 chart toppers, each with its own groove, message, and magic. From the glittering stomp of Venus to the sweet ache of I'll Be There, 1970 gave us a whole lot of gems. And while some songs were pure sugar rush, others hit like a sermon, a protest, or a farewell hug. But at the very top of the pile was a bridge over all that troubled water. I mean, whoa, what a year, huh? We had slap bass, schoolboy heartbreak, Motown magic, Beatle farewells, and a whole lot of Jackson 5. But through it all, these songs didn't just fill the airwaves, they stitched themselves into our memories. Whether you danced, dreamed, or just turned the dial to something that finally understood you, 1970 gave you a soundtrack worth replaying. Now tell us, which of these songs do you still like? And tell me, did I completely botch the list? Hey, I'm human, and if I did, why don't you tell me your top 5? Or heck, do all 21, I'd love to look at some of your countdowns. If you enjoyed our countdown, please hit that little thumbs up icon, it really helps our channel grow. Make sure you're subscribed to Do You Remember so you never miss a playlist like this. But most importantly, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Peace now.